Most of us like to believe we're smart shoppers. We read labels, follow trends, listen to experts, and proudly fill our carts with foods we think are good for us. But here's a slightly uncomfortable question. What if many of the foods you trust the most are quietly working against you? What if the biggest food scams aren't junk food you already avoid, but the so-called healthy foods you eat every day without a second thought? Today, we're diving into a story that stretches from ancient myths to modern marketing labs, from breakfast tables to supermarket aisles, uncovering 100 scam foods you think are healthy but actually aren't. And once you hear this, you'll never look at healthy food the same way again. Let's start with a simple truth. Humans have always tried to eat their way to better health. Thousands of years ago, ancient civilizations believed certain foods carried magical healing powers. Honey was considered divine, bread was sacred, and wine was medicine. Fast forward to today, and the myths haven't disappeared. They've just been repackaged with scientific words, shiny labels, and influencer endorsements. The modern food industry doesn't sell food anymore. It sells reassurance. Words like natural, low-fat, gluten-free, organic, and plant-based trigger a psychological shortcut in your brain that says, this must be healthy. And that shortcut is where most scams begin. Take breakfast, for example, often called the most important meal of the day. That phrase alone has convinced generations to eat foods they'd never touch at any other time. Breakfast cereals are one of the biggest scams in food history. Originally promoted in the early 1900s as a moral and digestive cure, cereals were marketed as clean, modern, and health-focused. Today, many cereals, even those labeled whole grain or heart healthy, are loaded with sugar, refined carbs, artificial flavors, and synthetic vitamins added back after processing strip the nutrients away. They spike blood sugar, leave you hungry an hour later, and train your body to crave sweetness first thing in the morning. Granola, often seen as the healthy cousin of cereal, can be even worse. A small bowl can contain as much sugar and fat as a dessert, yet we eat it with pride because it looks rustic and natural. Then there's fruit juice, a classic example of how something natural can still be a scam. Fruit itself is healthy because it comes with fiber, which slows sugar absorption. But juice removes most of that fiber and concentrates the sugar. A glass of orange juice can contain the sugar of several oranges, consumed in minutes, without the chewing, fullness, or metabolic breaks nature intended. For decades, juice was marketed as liquid sunshine, essential for kids and adults alike. In reality, your body processes it more like soda than fruit. Even smoothies, especially bottled ones, often combine fruit concentrates, syrups, and flavorings that turn them into sugar bombs with a health halo. Yogurt is another food many people trust blindly. Traditional yogurt has a long history, dating back thousands of years as a fermented food that supported gut health. But modern flavored yogurts often contain more sugar than ice cream. The probiotic benefit is often overshadowed by sweeteners, thickeners, and artificial colors. Low-fat yogurts are particularly misleading because when fat is removed, sugar is added to make them taste good. Greek yogurt can be a better option, but even there, flavored versions can quietly undo the benefits. Let's talk about low-fat and fat-free foods as a category, one of the biggest nutritional myths of the last century. In the late 20th century, fat was blamed for heart disease, weight gain, and nearly every health problem imaginable. Food companies rushed to remove fat and replace it with sugar, starch, and chemicals. Low-fat cookies, low-fat salad dressings, low-fat snacks, all marketed as guilt-free. The result? People ate more calories, experienced worse blood sugar control, and felt less satisfied. Fat itself wasn't the villain. Highly processed food was. Yet the myth stuck, and many low-fat foods today are still nutritionally hollow. Salads seem like the safest bet of all, but even they can turn into scams. A bowl of leafy greens is healthy, but what you put on top matters. Sugary dressings, fried toppings, processed croutons, and cheese blends can turn a salad into a calorie-dense, inflammatory meal. Bottled salad dressings often contain refined oils, sugar, preservatives, and artificial flavors. Even light dressings can be loaded with hidden sweeteners. The psychology is fascinating. Once we believe a meal is healthy, we give ourselves permission to overdo it. Energy bars and protein bars are another modern invention built on good intentions and clever marketing. They're often positioned as fitness fuel, meal replacements, or clean snacks. But many are basically candy bars with protein powder added. They contain syrups, refined sugars, cheap oils, and artificial ingredients that undermine the very health goals they promise to support. The word protein alone makes people overlook long ingredient lists they'd normally question. Plant-based doesn't automatically mean healthy either. While whole plant foods like vegetables, legumes, nuts, and fruits are excellent, many plant-based packaged foods are ultra-processed. Vegan cookies, plant-based burgers, dairy-free ice creams, and meat substitutes can be high in sodium, refined oils, and additives. They exploit the belief that if something avoids animal products, it must be good for you. Historically, plant-based diets were built on simplicity, not factories. Gluten-free foods are another major scam for people without medical gluten intolerance. Gluten itself isn't harmful to most people, but the gluten-free label has become a marketing goldmine. Gluten-free breads, snacks, and desserts often use refined flours and starches that raise blood sugar even faster than wheat. People feel virtuous eating them, unaware they may be nutritionally worse than the foods they replaced. Superfoods deserve special attention. The term itself is more marketing than science. Foods like acai berries, goji berries, chia seeds, and spirulina do contain nutrients, but they're not magical. Historically, every culture had its own superfoods, usually the foods that were locally available and nutritionally dense. Today, exotic superfoods are often overpriced, overhyped, and consumed in tiny amounts that barely impact health. Meanwhile, simple foods like beans, lentils, eggs, and vegetables are overlooked because they're too ordinary to sell a story around. Even bread, one of humanity's oldest foods, has been turned into a scam. Traditional bread was made with few ingredients and slow fermentation. Modern commercial bread, even whole wheat versions, often contains refined flour, added sugar, preservatives, and dough conditioners. Labels like multigrain and wheat can be misleading as they don't guarantee whole grains. The color brown doesn't always mean healthy. Sometimes it's just food coloring. Cooking oils are another area filled with confusion. Vegetable oils like soybean, corn, and canola oil were once promoted as heart-healthy alternatives to butter. Over time, research has raised concerns about excessive consumption of highly refined oils and their role in inflammation. Meanwhile, traditional fats like olive oil, butter, and even animal fats were unfairly demonized. The scam wasn't choosing plants over animals. It was choosing industrial processing over tradition. Even foods marketed specifically to children deserve scrutiny. Fruit snacks, flavored milk, breakfast pastries, and healthy cookies are often sugar delivery systems wrapped in friendly packaging. Decades ago, these foods didn't exist. Children ate simpler meals, not because people were smarter, but because food marketing hadn't yet learned how to speak directly to a child's brain. Psychology plays a huge role in why these scams work. Humans are drawn to shortcuts. If a package tells us a food is healthy, we want to believe it. We associate price with quality, green packaging with nature, and scientific terms with credibility. Food companies understand this deeply. They don't need to lie outright. They just need to highlight one positive feature and distract from everything else. Culture also shapes our beliefs. In some societies, certain foods become symbols of health, status, or modern living. Drinking juice, eating cereal, or choosing packaged snacks once signaled progress and convenience. Over time, these symbols become habits, and habits become identities. Questioning them feels like questioning ourselves. Science adds another layer. Nutrition science is complex and constantly evolving. Studies can be cherry-picked, simplified, or misrepresented. A single nutrient is isolated and celebrated, while the overall food is ignored. This reductionist approach turns nutrition into a numbers game instead of a holistic practice when we talk about 100 scam foods, it's not about memorizing a blacklist. It's about understanding patterns. Highly processed foods, even when labeled healthy, often disconnect us from how food traditionally nourished humans. The biggest scam isn't any single food. It's the idea that health can be packaged, branded, and sold as a shortcut. The real secret to eating well hasn't changed much in thousands of years. Eat foods that look like they came from nature. Be skeptical of long ingredient lists. Question health claims that sound too good to be true. Remember that moderation matters more than perfection. And understand that no food can fix a lifestyle, just as no single food can ruin one. That if this video made you rethink even one food you eat regularly, then it's already done its job. And this list could easily go on because the food industry keeps evolving, finding new ways to sell old myths in modern forms. That's why awareness is your strongest tool. That if you enjoyed this deep dive into the hidden side of healthy foods, make sure to like this video because it helps more people see it. Share your thoughts in the comments, especially if a food on this list surprised you. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more eye-opening facts that challenge what we think we know about health, food, and the world around us.